I played Yooka-Replaylee, so you don't have to. Hello, and welcome to a bit of a different episode of Real Person Reviews. I mean, I am still a real person, I'm still Sam, but today we're looking at a remake. It's Yooka-Replaylee, which is a remake of Yooka-Laylee. And I guess I just wanted to have a bit of preface here in the front to kind of explain myself a little bit. So if you just want to see the actual me talking about the game part, you can skip ahead to whenever that is. You'll see that probably does be a full screen gameplay for this one. So you'll be able to tell pretty easily by scrubbing. So to explain myself a bit here, I have this weird connection with Yooka-Laylee. Banjo-Kazooie is my favorite game of all time, so when I heard that they were going to do like a spiritual successor to it, with a lot of the employees from Rare that actually worked on the game, I was pretty excited. And then I got a Wii U, and they decided to not put it out on Wii U. I won it on Steam, but my laptop at the time couldn't really handle it, so I thought I wasn't going to be able to play it. But then eventually I got it on Switch, and then I played through the whole thing there. And that's when I did my review on it originally. And since then, I've played it, on a bit, at least not the whole thing, but at least bits and pieces anyways, on things like my nicer laptop, my Windows one. I played it on Mac. I've played it on Linux. I played it on Steam Deck. So I've just, anything that I can really try to play it on, basically if it's can it run Yooka-Laylee? It's a weird benchmark thing I don't think anybody else is going to, it's not really good for a benchmark thing. It's just a weird thing that I like to use for it for whatever reason, just probably because I had so much trouble running it in the first place, and because even the Switch kind of struggled a bit. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do that. And I was interested in everything. And so now I have this weird bond with it, and so when I heard that Yooka-Replaylee was coming out, I decided I want to try and replay the game, so I'm kind of prepped for it, right? Like, how is it now that I've had some time away, played through the whole thing 100% again, and I think that more or less my views really haven't changed. If anything, there's only a couple of things here that probably have. On the one hand, that I think there's a few things that bother me here, like the inconsistency with your abilities and logic and how you should use them. So for example, you get the sonar explosion thing, and it's when you get it, even in the description of the move thing, Trowser's don't use it around glass, but pretty much everything of glass that you break has to be done with the reptile rush instead. So it's kind of confusing, except for one thing. There's that one arcade cabinet in the arcade in Ivory Towers that you have to go and use the sonar explosion thing on that piece of glass to break it. Why wouldn't both things work in both scenarios? I don't know. You think that they would. You think that the explosive flowers would also blow up glass. You think multiple different things would work for that, but no, they didn't really want you to do that. They didn't think of that themselves, so it doesn't work. Meanwhile, you have the whole cloaking thing to go invisible, where they say nothing about it reflecting anything, but it can reflect light and lasers, and you have to just figure that out on your own, I guess. Why does that logically work that way, but the other thing doesn't? Stuff like that bothered me more this time around, because it feels like it's just kind of stuff they didn't think about. So the things that are interesting and cool are things that only ones they thought about, and the developers didn't think of enough things for the abilities they had on them. That's kind of how I feel. So I'm a little harsher on it in that regard. However, I am a little bit more lenient on it here, or a little more appreciative of this game, in the sense that this time around, I really appreciate the a number of little things, using different tonics are really useful for different things. Actually switching those, going into the unexpanded worlds first to help track my progress before expanding them, stuff like that. There's little things that I've just done to actually make me appreciate the game design more. But on the other hand, there's also things that are just overall things. I think that really this game has a lot of charm to it, a lot of heart, even if it's not really the most well done with its design and its polish. It's clear that they cared a lot about this game, and they really nailed that feeling of trying to make it, it's not Banjo 3, but they tried to do what they could to bring this kind of spirit back. And also, I really like it not just for the genre thing. I like that too, but as the industry has moved further forward, I feel like there's not a lot of games I can play anymore where it's I spend a few hours in it and I feel like I made progress. I feel like on modern games, if I spent, a few hours, I could spend a weekend playing this game and do almost half of it, whereas playing a modern game, most of those I would spend a whole weekend doing that, and it's I'd get 10% done, at most. So it's just kind of a nice feeling to see games like this exist, and it's I guess interesting to see if it'll exist, seeing it exist again, how it will do even further ahead in today's market, because it's like 8 years later this is happening. So in order to give it the best chances possible here, I actually replayed Yooka-Laylee on Xbox One. Or I guess on Xbox Series X, but it is an Xbox One game. So the thing is, I wanted to give it a fair shot, so I will be getting Yooka-Re-Playlee on Xbox Series X as well. Because the thing is, this game is being released on Xbox Series X/S, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch 2. And I guess all those have backwards compatibility also, right? So you can play the original game on all of those systems as well. So the big thing I want to answer with this with this comparison with Yooka-Re-Playlee is to see, is it really worth the cost and the bothering to do this at all, I guess, to go to this? Is it really worth upgrading or getting this instead of the original one, depending on prices, that kind of thing? I want to see if it's worth it, basically. So that was a long-winded way to explain all that, but I wanted to get that all out in the open off my chest, because I felt like it was a lot to kind of cram in there that had nothing to do with the rest of this. And maybe if I remember, I'll try to do things like link in the description my original review of the first game, and so you know more about the actual game. I'm just looking at this comparatively, so I'm assuming you already know about Yooka-Laylee in the first place. Refer to that, because I'm sure it'll be about the same unless the review says differently. And also, hopefully I might remember to try and timestamp this so that you can skip ahead really easily with the chapters and the timestamp things too. So that was what I wanted to throw out in the front. And full disclosure, I actually am recording this it's now about a month ahead of time before the Yooka-Re-Playlee actually comes out. So I just wanted to get this out while it was fresh on my mind, and we'll get into the review now. All right, so let's jump into it now. I have played through Yooka-Re-Playlee now, and I did not get 100%, but I got pretty close. And there's a lot to say, so kind of bear with me. I got a little bit of thing of notes here in front of me, a bit of that, and I'll see if I can hit all these different things I want to hit here, as far as all these changes and things, and how I feel about them. Because there is a lot to take in, so definitely check out the written review, link that in the description, if you wanted to make sure I don't miss anything or whatever, because I might, but I'm going to do my best here. And the footage should already just be playing over this now, I think, anyway. So we're just going to let it roll and see how it goes. So, first of all, right away, some things you're going to notice in the game is that, visually, I don't know if it's a super big improvement. Kind of depends. Compared to the Xbox One version of the game, the new visuals don't look that different. They are still more detailed. You can see further. There's more effects going on. Lots of those little things you'll notice. But and also it performs a lot better. It's much more smooth, very fluid the entire time. So there is that. But it's not a huge improvement. I think if you're playing on the Switch version, or maybe if you're on a lower end PC for the original game, you'll probably notice more of a difference here. Also, in the beginning, the little bit of the intro is a bit reworked for the story, and there's a new intro section that is more linear, and it kind of shows you how to use your moves a little bit for the basic moves, and then it puts you back into the main area you're used to in the game. And this is where they have a pretty big change. They give you all of the moves from the previous version of this game right from the get-go at this point. And you'll have to look in the menu to see how you do all of them. And I just think that's not a very good thing for first-time players. It's great if you played the game before, but not giving you a very good tutorial on how to do all of these more advanced techniques is probably not the greatest idea. To be fair, they do, for the first time you'll really have to use those things. They will usually tell you, the little button prompts will come up, and it'll be like, yeah, press this to do this thing here. Oh, that's what I'm supposed to do here, right. But it's not really the same as, learning the moves as you go, because that's also gone. There's not, learning moves in the levels or anything, which means that you don't get that same sense of progression of, unlocking more stuff, because you can have more abilities now. So it's also kind of a thing that kind of ties into this whole, how this all works. Though the moves themselves have been mostly reworked as well, and the control is a lot tighter. That's definitely way better. This game, things are a lot more responsive and tight, and they kind of reworked things pretty much all for the better. So the roll no longer takes stamina. and like your double jump is more like a glide now instead. Um, the what am I thinking of? The cloaking ability is now a thing where you just have to crouch, and then like you're crouched for a few seconds, you'll go invisible. You can crouch walk though, so I mean, like once you get up or attack or do anything other than just crouch walk, you will become visible again. So they have kind of changed how that works. Also, flight is no longer just an ability you have, which I think is probably a good thing because a lot of times it'll kind of break some of the like progression or like the exploration of a level if you could just fly everywhere. There's something to be said about that being kind of cool later in the game. Like, oh, now I have access to everything. But if they had it right away from the beginning of the game, you could just fly everywhere. It would be probably bad. It wouldn't be very fun for platforming stuff if you could just fly everywhere. So they've limited it to being a thing that you basically like a slurp state or whatever slurp kind of thing. You eat an item now and it's a temporary thing. And all these things that you have, whether it's like the body thing or the slurp state or the slurp shot, for different like elemental things there. All of those can actually double up between the two, and also the all of these run off of your stamina meter. So it's rather than being arbitrary timers on those things, it is actually tied to your stamina. So more things are kind of actually tied to that, even though not everything uses it. So that's probably a bit of a balance thing there. And you have a midair attack now that you can do as well. You don't have any breath underwater anymore. You don't have to worry about managing an air meter, but you also can attack underwater now as well. And also a little thing with like your health. You start with less health. You only have like 3 hit points, but you can get more as you go along. Now either eating or touching a butterfly will work for recovering health and stamina. It's just whatever. As long as you get it somehow, you get it. So that's kind of been tweaked a bit here. And as far as like actually doing the levels and such, well, I guess we'll start with because you have to go into Ivory Towers first, right? And you go in, you start going to the levels. No longer are levels needed to be unlocked or expanded with the pages. You just kind of go to them and they start in their fully expanded state right from the get-go. You do need pages to open up pagey doors to get to other parts of the Ivory Towers and other places and whatever. There are also more pages again that you can collect around Ivory Towers. I've added more here as well. But yes, now accessing different areas is through pagey doors rather than abilities or something. Now, the levels themselves, the overall basic levels are pretty much the same levels as far as the main areas. Now all levels have 50 pages for you to collect in a variety of ways. And there are actually some a lot of things that were there before, but a lot of tweaked challenges, things that are kind of rearranged and changed, and some new ones that are thrown in here as well. So there are things like well, first of all, for collectibles, let's just start there really quick before we get into that bit, I guess, is that there are quills still, but there are only 150 quills, which I feel like there should probably be more quills rather than fewer quills, but it is still a collectible you get here. And you give those to Trouser to buy upgrades instead of moves, so you can get like more health and more stamina, you can hold more tonics, because tonics are a thing in here again. You can get some cosmetics and coins as well. I'll get to that in a second for the coins, but I'll also say for the quills, each world has its own color of quills, so it's kind of easier to see them, I guess. A little easier to differentiate them on the maps. But yes, there are fewer quills, only being 150 for each level rather than like having more quills. There's no longer 200, and I kind of feel like there should have been the same amount or more, personally, as hunting those down is kind of a thing that I enjoyed doing. They also are more forgivingly placed. They're kind of hidden off on the wayside a little bit, but at least they're not in any like really far off annoying places. Like in the first level, they don't hide one by itself underneath a bunch of stuff around a corner, like stuff like that. They're a little kinder with these. And also, like, if you leave the level and come back, it will reset the quills, sort of. There will be, like, phantom quills that you can pick up for coins, for the quills you've already collected in previous runs. So you don't have to get all of them in one go. That's a way to kind of help kind of track them. So I think that's probably overall a good thing to do, that part. Coins are this other collectible that you can get now, and these coins are they're kind of everywhere. There's a lot of them just kind of like lining the levels to kind of like breadcrumb you around to places. You can get them for interacting with things, for defeating enemies. Sometimes like just lots of different things you can do to get them, and they come back quite frequently. And you use the coins to purchase things at Vendy, tonics and cosmetics. So the tonics you get here, which are mostly unlocked through collecting more pages. I think actually both of these things, both the tonics and the cosmetics, are just number of pages you get. Some of them are for doing specific things that'll unlock them for you to purchase, but here you can purchase them with your coins. And some of these are like upgrades that make it things easier when you're playing. Some of these are, like extending your stamina, extending your health, stuff like that. Buffing the abilities you already have. Some of these things make it more difficult, like make it so that enemies have more health, or you have like a one hit and you're dead, or just other things to make the game more challenging if you want that. And then there's some of them that are just kind of like neutral things. Some of them like changing the music, putting like visual filters over the whole game, weird like sound or visual flares to different techniques you're doing, goofy things like that. The cosmetics are cosmetics, so there's like a head, body, and pant thing selection for Yooka, and then you also have a selection of things for Laylee to wear, or there are full outfits you can put on as well that will be on both of them. So you can either mix and match with the other little pieces or just wear full outfits. They don't do a whole lot. They're mostly visual. I think some of them have maybe some audio things in them too, like the Buccaneer outfit thing makes you say pirate things, kind of pirate noises, but however you explain that, but it does that, trust me. You'll see, you'll hear. So mostly are those things. Like I said, there are more pages now. There are 50 pages per level. You're getting a pagey for like every Ghost Rider that you collect. Once you get every Ghost Rider, you also get 3 pages for getting all of them. There are some recurring pages like collecting a line of a timed challenge of collecting all of these coins in a line before that time runs out. Then you'll get a pagey for that. There's 2 pages that have to be collected by finding 4 pieces of pages hidden throughout the level. There are lots of like areas where like the ground will glow and you have to like ground pound on there to like uncover things. That's a new thing in general that you're doing. So there could be any number of things underneath there. It could be a pagey, a piece of pagey, coins, whatever. Those could be there. There are some where you have to go through this ring and then it'll activate a bunch of spread out, red coins. Get all the red coins, you'll get a pagey. Some recurring ones kind of like that, along with things you've already kind of seen. A lot of these things have been reworked as well, kind of tweaked a bit for these challenges, for some of the old ones. Particularly, you'll find a lot of areas in the challenge areas now no longer have any like quills in them for you to collect, so you don't have to worry about them in those areas, which is nice. But they've also done this thing where a lot of those areas have been reworked. So like there's a lot of either top-down or like side-scrolling sections there instead. So they're not like what they were before. So you'll definitely notice some of those popping up in there. I think like some notable ones are things like the whole underwater section in Moody Maze Marsh, as the fish is different. It's like a side-scrolling thing now instead. Or like the in Clear Glacier, that's what it was. The glowy cavern thing that people didn't like, they had to glow in. They've changed that as well, to like a top-down kind of thing. So like they've done some things where they've changed things up here. And among some of these biggest changes are going to be things like Kartos and Rextro. So for Kartos, the stages are the same basically. You are still going around in the minecart trying to, jump and shoot and avoid enemies and collect all of the gems. That's what you're doing. But there's no speeding up or slowing down. It's a lot more precise now as well. While you can shoot, you have to collect cannonballs to shoot, so your shots are finite. You can smash through barrels now, but you'll have to like shoot enemies to defeat them, and getting hit by enemies will make you drop gems as well. So at the end of the level, you'll get up to 3 pages, depending on how many gems you get. So on the one hand, this is a lot easier because it's just more doable. It controls way better. It's just so much simpler to control than in the original game. So overall, I think this is good, a good improvement. These are the pages that I missed out on. The ones that I didn't collect were for the final pages on some of these Carto stages, because you have to get a perfect run in order to get them. You have to collect every single gem and not drop any the whole way, which is easier than trying to get lucky with crappier mechanics, but still very hard because it does require you to be absolutely perfect in what you're doing. So I just gave up on a number of them and didn't care, because you don't need all of them. 100% I think just gives you like a new cosmetic thing. So I didn't really feel like I missed out on much, which is also a good thing to say, that you don't have to get 100% to get like the true ending or some amazing thing like that. Rextro's arcade is very different in that in the original game there were a bunch of different little mini game things that you were playing, and here they're all the same mini game with different levels. So you play as like Rextro, and he's like, you can walk around like 8 directions, and then you have an attack that like is your like extendo head. It can attack enemies, it can grab stuff, it can pull things towards you or pull you towards things. And there are 2 medals hidden throughout the stage that you can get. You have like health, I guess, too. So you have like 3 hearts if you get hit 3 times, you die if you fall off. I guess I didn't fall off to see if I totally die or if it just takes a heart. I didn't attempt it to see. But basically, yeah, if you start, like, you die and get a game over, you have to start over. There are 2 medals hidden within the stage you can get, and 1 medal at the end of the stage for completing it. Each medal is worth a pagey. And they kind of like grow the mechanics as you go to different ones of these different levels and different versions of this arcade game, that you do get more mechanics, and it kind of builds on what you've already been doing. So I think that's pretty cool, and a pretty neat way to like change that so that it's actually a fun little extra game that I actually was looking forward to each time, rather than being like, okay, what kind of thing am I going to have to try and like awkwardly put up with this time, you know, like in the original. So I do think that is an improvement in a way. I guess if you like the variety in the original, there's something to be said about that, and it feels more, that felt more like, you know, Donkey Kong 64-esque. Here's a weird thing we threw in, but this I think is probably more satisfying personally. So I like it. Also, beating bosses gives you 3 pages as well. So yeah, some things give you multiple pages. There's definitely a lot of pages to be had in each level. And since you have all the moves right away, you can complete every level the first time you go there if you want to. They also include a map now, so you can kind of like track where you've been. You can track different pages that you've found, that you've collected and done, or ones you need yet to do. There's also a warp guy called Mark, who shows up in different places, so you talk to him and it'll wake him up, and you can warp to different parts of the level. You can do it in Ivory Towers, I guess, as well. And you can also spend coins to have him reveal a pagey, to be like a pagey challenge, to tell you, oh, you do this, whatever, and it gives you like an area and a name. And you're like, oh, I kind of have to do this thing. So like, it gives you some ability to track the stuff and like get these things without having to go to the internet a bit. Sadly, there was no Hunter Tonic in here that I could find. So in the original game, that was really nice for finding missing quills. But in this one, you kind of just have to, if you can't find them, you pretty much have to leave, come back in, and then like follow a guide and go to every spot where you know, like, where did I miss, you know, a little lump of 3 or 4 quills somewhere. It's really frustrating. I really wish it would have put the Hunter Tonic in this game, but they didn't. So that's kind of frustrating. But I do think the quality of life for like the, you know, warping around and the tracking pages and all that's cool. I think that's probably a good idea, in having the map. These are all probably good things that do help expedite the process a bit, especially in some of the more kind of confusing places. You can warp around, and also places so you don't have to rely on, you know, flying everywhere or doing this other stuff. It's just kind of nice. So I'll give it that. And is there anything else I'm missing here? Because there's a lot of stuff. Well, I guess there's also no fall damage. That's the thing to bring up. There's no fall damage. You can give yourself that with the tonic, but it's not a thing at the beginning. So yeah, I think that's actually pretty much everything. Other than also when you restart the levels, if you like have to exit or something. I did have one glitch where I actually. Usually when you fall down and die, it'll start you at your last safe place, but I had one where I jumped down to an area that I wasn't supposed to go to, I guess, and there was no way for me to get back up, especially with no flight ability, so I jumped down the bottomless pit, but then it just put me back onto this ledge that I can't access the exit door, again. So I had to actually, the feature actually kind of harmed me in a way, and so I had to actually restart the entire level. And you'll notice that when you restart the level, also certain pages that you've collected will come back. They'll be like phantom pages. So some of the challenges you can like recomplete and get pages to just get some extra coins if you want them. But it's kind of annoying to have that happen when it's like I'm just kind of looking around the level with my eyes, being like, I want to see like what pages can I see from here that I need to get, and it's like, oh, there's something, and then I go to get it. It's like, oh, I already got that one. You know, that's a little bit annoying. I kind of wish it would do that, but as it's not a terrible thing, I just don't really care for it, personally. And then I will also say that the other thing is like with in regards to like the final boss. Because you do between when you open page doors, you'll get like these little like interstitial bits or whatever. And I believe they've redone most of those. There's no quizzes in here either. I don't think I mentioned that yet, but yeah, there's no quizzes. I mean, there's like one quiz in the ice level. That's it. That's still there, but there's no like Quackfire quizzes in this one. So that's whether you like that or not. I guess that's up to you. But that's another thing that's missing. But yeah. That's pretty much all that I think the stuff, other than like the one other thing I will say is that was different is there's the final boss fight is also different, and it's I like that you can actually, well, for one thing, you can skip the talking part, so if you have to redo the fight, you don't have to sit through all the dialogue again. But also, like, I like that in the fight is that basically you're pretty much able to like hurt capital B the entire time that he's out there. He doesn't have like invulnerability periods or anything, other than like maybe like the final phase. I think is like you can't hurt him during certain parts of it. So like I think that's actually really cool because it creates a natural risk versus reward of like I can keep getting these hits in, but if I do, he's going to hit me with these attacks at certain points. There's obviously advantageous times to be attacking him and things, so it makes it feel a little bit more open and dynamic that way. Yeah, so I do think there's a lot of like really positive changes as far as like how it performs, how it plays. It runs well, it's very well optimized. There's lots of things that are just, it's way less frustrating, it's way more straightforward what you're doing, and there's a lot more content to play. So I do think that overall there are like a lot of positive things here to mention, but I guess I should probably save that for a little wrap up bit. But I think those are all the changes I really noticed through my playthrough of it without getting too crazy granular. The overworlds are largely the same with more stuff in them, and things play a lot better, play a lot smoother, and more responsive and everything, so you'll definitely notice differences when you play this for sure. Alright, so conclusions, recommendations, all that stuff. We're here, we're ready to finally do that. And I gotta say that, after doing all this, my skepticism, is kind of unfounded. It kind of went away, I guess, because I really thought that it was gonna be just like, we're gonna clean it up, it's gonna look a little nicer, and, make it play a little better. That's gonna be it, that's really gonna be all they're gonna do, and they went way above and beyond that. It is not the kind of thing where it's just going to be like, it's just the better version of the game. They did a lot more than just fix the game in that sense. I think that's good. A lot of ways I'm very happy about that. I guess for as far as recommendations go, I'll say, well, obviously if you're already a big fan of Yooka-Laylee, you played it multiple times, like it's one of my favorite games or something, like of course you're gonna get this anyways, right? There's not like, oh man, do I do it, should I get it, like of course you're gonna get it, right? You're gonna buy this game, you want it. I don't really need to sell it to you. I think there's the people who haven't played either version yet. There's also a lot of you out there who maybe you missed the original one, like I don't know, and they're like, well, which one should I get now that they're both out here? If you're like someone in that position, I would say just get Yooka-Re-Playlee. I do think that it's going to be the more enjoyable time for most people in the way they want to play it. That's just modern audiences are going to enjoy it more than the original game. And it's hard to argue with it being so much, having more content and just playing so much better. It's really hard to argue against it in that regard. However, the more difficult part is when you talk about people who did play the original Yooka-Laylee and probably already bought it. Should they double dip on Yooka-Re-Playlee? And for that, especially for people who it wasn't like their favorite game or anything, I don't know. I guess like the way I would say it is if you played Yooka-Laylee and you were like, man, I really wanted to like this game. There's a lot of really cool stuff here. There's lots of potential, but there's just so many things that are just keeping me from enjoying it. Maybe you didn't even finish the game because it was just so janky and frustrating and annoying. I think for those people who really wanted to like it, who see potential here, definitely give Yooka-Re-Playlee a look. I think you'll be really happy with what they've done here for the most part. Largely, almost entirely, you'll be happy with it. And the other thing is that, I guess, on the other hand, people who played the original Yooka-Laylee and were like, it was alright. Wasn't anything all that amazing, all that special, but it was fine. If that's kind of how you feel about it, it's probably not worth double dipping, because while this is better, if it's just not really your cup of tea, I don't think this is going to make it your cup of tea just because of the things that they've done here. It's still building on similar kinds of ideas, and so I get the idea that if the Yooka-Laylee didn't excite you in some way and get you hopeful for something more, then I think that the Yooka-Re-Playlee is just going to be that something more you didn't really want in the first place. I guess I'll put it that way. However, I do also really want to say that I think that because of how many changes and things there are, like it's so different that it's almost like this remake is almost bordering on being like told like a reboot of how much they actually changed here. Like they maybe took some of the same assets, so technically it's a remaster or something. But like I feel like it's really a toss up between, do I want to call this a remake or a reboot, because of just how much is different here. And the thing is, I think that both really have a reason to exist. I don't think that Yooka-Re-Playlee just replaces Yooka-Laylee. It's just like, it's the same thing, but better. And the reason I'm saying that is because, like, when I'm playing Yooka-Re-Playlee, it definitely feels like, it kind of feels like Super Mario Odyssey, right? It's kind of like doing that kind of thing. It's kind of that kind of clone. Lots of stuff to get little pieces of progress everywhere, going here and there, and it's just, all that stuff is really good. I mean, that's fun, that's addicting, that's cool. But the thing is, it doesn't feel the same. Whereas like Yooka-Laylee, it feels like a successor to Banjo-Kazooie, right? I mean, yeah, it's got the awkward camera that you have to fight with. It's got the clunky controls that you're dealing with, and it's got performance issues and frame drops and the stylized text boxes and just like the actual more of a focus on collecting the collectibles, hunting down all the little quills and stuff and all that. Like all of that stuff is really like, it just makes it feel like an N64 game in that way. It does. I mean, that's something where if you really want that nostalgia, you want to feel like it's a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, Yooka-Laylee is still the better buy. But if you want a fun game, like most people do in this day and age, I think that like majority of people are going to like Yooka-Re-Playlee much better. And so I do think it's probably good in that sense. Although neither of them were able to figure out that maybe I shouldn't be able to just run around in all this weird level geometry off on the sides and stuff if there's nothing there for me to get. Either put stuff there or make it so I can't go there. Why can't I go to places that have nothing in it? That's neither of these even got that right somehow still. Anyways, I will say that ultimately though, I do feel like they probably should have just taken all these new ideas for different challenges and things and cleaning stuff up and making stuff work better and all that, and just put all those ideas into a sequel. I think these would have really worked well for Yooka-Laylee, rather than just remaking this old one. Because there is still a sense of, like, I kind of know some of this stuff already. It doesn't feel totally new, even though a lot of it does. And it's in this weird position of, like, I've played this before, but I kind of haven't. But I feel like I have. It's weird. And, I don't know. Hopefully we will get a sequel. Hopefully Yooka-Laylee is on the horizon. In fact, if anything, I feel like this might have been a safer, like, okay, well, let's test it out first on something we already have kind of ready, so I don't have to do everything from scratch for this. And let's see if it's viable. Can we make a 3D platformer really work here? If we actually polish it up and make it work and do all these things that we want to do in the sequel, what if we start with doing that in this game and see if people actually want it first? Hopefully this is going to end up being a success and being a nice, pilot for like a actual sequel to this kind of a game. I think that would be kind of awesome. So I am hoping that it does well, even if even I myself was very skeptical, and I was like, do we really need one of those? I did not buy it physically, and now I feel a little bad, but also, like, I'm not going to double dip on a physical version that I already double dipped on physically and then digitally for the reboot thing. So, there's that. But it's very good. I am glad I played it. It was very fun to experience all that stuff, and it was a lot more fun to play through the thing. Again, like, this version of it is just a lot less frustrating. I really had a good time, even if it doesn't hit the same nostalgia notes as the original did. So, yes, very few people are going to enjoy putting themselves through this game several times in their lifetime the way I have. But I've done it because I'm a real person still, I think. Real people might do ridiculous things like that sometimes, right? Sure. So what do you guys think? Also leave that in the comments. What do you guys think if you've played, especially if you've played both of these versions, what do you think is the better version and that people will like, and any other interesting insights that you might have, things that I maybe missed throughout all of this. That would be interesting to hear and chat back and forth about and everything, because I feel like I had a lot of opinions on this game, especially as somebody who has played games that the original was based on and playing the original multiple times and everything, so hopefully it was somewhat interesting to you, okay? So that's Yooka-Re-Playlee. Lizard and a bat and a bunch of new crap. Yooka-Re-Playlee.